Hi, I'm Kate Deakin. I'm the president of the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Choir. Sydney Gay and Lesbian Choir is hosting an international LGBTQI choral festival from the 19th to the 23rd of February as part of Sydney WorldPride. We're inviting everybody to come along and hear the glorious sound of 400 queer voices raised in song at the Sydney Town Hall, Thursday the 23rd of February. It's also not too late to sign up and be a singer and be part of this incredible event. Go to outloudproud.org to find out more.
Hi Kate, thank you so much for joining us on Queer Conversation.
Thank you.
I'm really happy that you're here to find out a little bit more about this choir. It sounds absolutely amazing. There will be, you mentioned before, around 400-500 people that are signed up to participate in that choir.
Yes, it's enormous. It's pretty daunting actually, just the logistics of it, but it's just going to be so exciting to be part of. We've invited our singing friends from queer choirs around Australia and around the world, and individual singers as well. And yeah, it's going to be amazing.
I've seen on the website there have already quite a few choirs that have signed up from an international perspective.
We have choirs from Timor-Leste, which is really exciting. Our friends in the Canberra Choir have sponsored and organised for a choir of, I think it's 12 to 15 gay, queer, lesbian singers from East Timor to come and sing with us, which is just so wonderful. We've also got a choir that's been put together just for this event from the North American Gala choruses. It's being led by Jane Ramsey-Miller, who is the music director of the combined North American Gay Choirs Association, Gala. And yeah, they'll be here also participating in force, and again a choir from Japan put together for this event. It's really exciting, and we've got lots of individuals coming from around the world. If they couldn't come with their whole choir, they've just come on their own or come with a couple of friends and they can sing too. Since the Gay Games in Sydney in 2000 was the first time that gay and lesbian and queer choirs from Australia and New Zealand got together. There was an event before that called Camp Music, very similar, and we loved it so much that we kept doing it every 3 or 4 years or so, and this sort of evolved into a festival called Out and Loud, and it's been hosted by the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Choir. 3 years ago it was hosted by the Canberra Choir, before that Auckland and so on. So Out and Loud as a choral festival has been going for quite a while. We called it Out and Loud and Proud this time because it's part of Sydney WorldPride, and it's just that one step bigger and more. We've invited people from further away than just Australia and New Zealand. There are also actually gay and lesbian and queer choral festivals all around the world, many of them in North America and Europe, which are thousands, even tens of thousands of singers. So it's actually relatively small, but for Australia, it's pretty big.
So I understand if a choir from interstate or overseas signs up and they are at home practicing, etc. And what happens if an individual likes to sign up?
We have put together what we're calling the Individual Voices Choir, and we've engaged Dr. Kathleen McGuire, who is a very well-respected queer choral conductor, and she is creating the Individual Voices Choir for the festival. It's a great experience, and even some members of Sydney Gay and Lesbian Choir who, for whatever reason, just unable to make it to enough rehearsals to perform with our choir, they're coming as part of the Individual Voices Choir. So it doesn't matter if you live in Sydney or Melbourne or London or wherever, you can be part of the Individual Voices Choir. And the way that she's organising that is that the music has been sent out, it's online, you can log in when you register. She's holding Zoom rehearsals, you can do some practice at home, but there are recordings to help you. So you don't need to even read music, you don't need to be a professional musician, you just need to be willing to give it a go, and you will be led and guided by a professional musician. And the Individual Voices Choir will come together for the very first time on the first day of the festival, and then they will have the opportunity to rehearse in person, and they will perform as that choir on stage at the Gala Concert. So the Gala Concert is not just the massed choir, which is a really exciting part, and I we want to tell you about some of the stuff we're singing as part of that choir. But also each individual choir will present their music as well. So you will hear everything from the smallest choir, which is Timor-Leste and Darwin, singing their own amazing music in their beautiful voices, to the big choirs like Sydney and Melbourne. So each choir will have the opportunity at the Gala Concert to present a small suite of music, 3 or 4 pieces, and then at the end we will all come together and raise the roof.
It's still open for registration. It's not too late for people to register?
It's not. It's probably too late to register as part of a choir, because rehearsals will be well underway, but it is definitely not too late to register as an individual, as part of the Individual Voices Choir. The first of those Zoom rehearsals is, I believe, the 28th of January, so you won't have missed anything. You can sign up at outloudproud.org and you will get access to the music. You will be put into that choir. You'll be given all the details about the rehearsals, and as I say, you will meet your fellow Individual Voices Choir members at registration on the 19th of February. From Monday morning till Thursday night, we have mass choir rehearsals. We have workshops, really interesting workshops presented by lots of fascinating people about all sorts of different musically related things. You can listen to Sarah and Mel Pennicker-Smith talking about inclusion and diversity in choral singing in queer communities. You can listen to Margie Di Ferranti. She'll teach you to sing show tunes. You can learn about Mongolian throat singing. You can learn about beatboxing. You can learn how to read music. All of these workshops are available to participants. And then in the afternoons and the evenings, we'll be getting out and about into the community. We'll be doing pop-up performances at the Queen Victoria building, at Central Station. We'll have concerts in Paddington Town Hall, and we'll also be doing what we're calling the Out and About Trail, which is a sort of musical pub crawl up Enmore Road, where you can just spend the evening popping in and listening to any of the choirs who will happen to be there and just giving you a bit of a song.
You just celebrated 40 years.
We were 30 years old in 2020, and we were going to have a grand gala 30 anniversary concert, COVID and so on. We ended up having a 32nd anniversary last year, which was great. So we're into our 34th year now. Yeah.
You've pretty much been with the choir from day one?
Fairly close. I think it was 3 or 4 years in, I finally got my act together and joined. We do still have founding members who sing with us. We have lots and lots of members who come and go, as I have as well. You sing for a while and then your life takes over, but everybody is always very, very welcome. And that's one of the wonderful things about the community that is Sydney Gay Lesbian Choir. We have been open and inclusive from the very beginning. There is no audition. Anyone who wants to sing can sing, and no matter how experienced you are or not, or how good you think you are, or if your year 6 teacher told you to stand up the back and not sing, lots of people haven't got over that trauma. But everyone is welcomed, and the rehearsal will be not only an opportunity to sing, but an opportunity to learn. We've all got better, and we've all learnt more about how to sing, and it's a really fantastic process. There's no, you don't have to show your gay or lesbian card at the door. Everybody is welcome. All we ask is that everybody is a member of our community, and whether that includes being an ally or being queer yourself, or however you want to define yourself. The joy of choral singing is that it is, no matter how good a singer you are, it is not physically possible for one person to make the same sound as 4 people or 10 people or 500 people. And the flip side of that is also that you don't need to be the strongest singer. You can, as long as you're brave enough to stand up and sing, you will be part of an extraordinary sound, and you'll be lifted up by that. And so really the only thing better than listening to 400 or 500 voices is being part of it. It's quite a transformative experience.
So you would have had the same discussions or thoughts that we had with Lesbians on the Loose, where things have changed so much in the last 30 years that for us calling ourselves Lesbians on the Loose, I mean, this is such an iconic name.
It is.
We will not change it.
Yeah.
But it excludes all the people now who don't consider themselves lesbians. So in your case, as the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Choir, you would have had many discussions. Are we going to change the name? What are we going to do about this? We want to be inclusive. How do you tackle that?
Look, it's a really hard question, and it is one that it's been bubbling along a little in the background, and actually at the last AGM we decided to formally have the conversation in a sort of mediated and official sort of a way. We haven't yet started that conversation because we've been a bit busy organising the festival, but that might be the next step. Like LOTL, Sydney Gay and Lesbian Choir is an iconic name, and it means something to people, and it means a lot to people. There are countless people in choir who it was the first time they stood up in public and said, yeah, I'm not straight, and that's okay. You know, and actually stood up in public and sang under the name Sydney Gay and Lesbian Choir. I'm sure you've heard the old story about when we, this was just before my time, but entered the Wagga Wagga Eisteddfod and did this great road trip out to Wagga and stood up and said, yay, we're the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Choir and this is what we sound like. And the organisers said, yeah, that's great. How about you call yourself the Eastern Suburbs Community Choir, perhaps? Because, you know, I mean, no offence, but, and they went, no, we are the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Choir. And they went, okay then. And we sang and we won. And you might say, okay, it was more important back then because who still can't stand up and say, I'm gay or I'm lesbian or I'm queer? But there are, you know, I think perhaps some of us who are in privileged positions forget that there's a kid who just can't say it or did say it and got chucked out of home, or there's an adult who's been struggling all their life or is just opening to themselves that they are trans or they're non-binary or they're lesbian, and we want to be a place that you can come. And I think there are arguments on both sides. There is certainly a really valid place to say the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Choir is that place because that's our history and that's our heritage and that's what we're honouring. But there is also a valid place to say that is the very name is exclusionary and it's not who we are. The Canberra choir went through that process 4 or 5 years ago, and after quite a long time, they finally agreed that they are now called the Canberra Choir, spelt QWIRE, and that's where they wanted to land. I don't know where we're going to land. I don't want to preempt that discussion, but yeah, it's not something you can pretend isn't a discussion to be had.
Lesbians have always been a big part of the choir, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. It has always been a genuinely coalitionist choir. We've, I suppose, watched over the years what Mardi Gras and other organisations have had to grapple with. And I'm not saying there's no gender politics. I mean, there sort of is everywhere, but somehow, and maybe it's because of the nature of what we do, it's never been a real focus for us, and it's never been enough to go anywhere near tearing us apart or stopping us doing what our core motive and message is, and it's singing, and that's what there is. And the nature of choral singing, the way that we do it anyway, is that it sounds great with 4 or 8 different voices, the voices all the way from the very deepest to the very highest. You can make a grand spectrum of sound. Now, I have sung in groups that are only lesbians. I used to sing with a group called Five Sopranos and Marge, who used to advertise with LOTL, and we made what I hope was a great sound, and it was a women's voices sound, and that's fantastic. That's not the choir that we have, and you know, there it is. There are lots of opportunities for choirs. So, yeah, there's always been. There are The choir started with one man writing a letter to the Sydney Star Observer saying, wouldn't it be great if we had a choir in Sydney in our community? And at the very first rehearsal, someone's going to correct me, but there were like 10 or 12 people or something, and there were women and there were men, and that's how it's been ever since. And some of the women and a couple of the men are still here. And so it's always been about the voices of our community from all genders. The choir is going from strength to strength. The Sydney Gay Lesbian Choir is just sglc.org. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming in and chatting with us about the choir and the upcoming concert for WorldPride.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me, and I really hope that listeners will be inspired to join their voices to ours. Come and participate in the whole festival if you have the time. Come along to an individual workshop. They're all on the website. You can just sign up for one workshop if you like. Come and listen to us on the streets of Newtown and in Paddington. And for the full experience, come to the Gala Concert. Thank you so much.